Miami fans, if you're not keeping up, Duke's actually a pretty good football team this year. Almost upset North Carolina last week. Got off to a 4-0 start. Have played just about everybody pretty competitive, including Kansas and Georgia Tech, in very close losses. Talking Miami football with Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Catch him on Wager Talk for his selections on not just college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball playoffs, and the NBA coming soon. Steve, we've got a selection with Miami hosting Duke in this one as a 9-point favorite.
Yeah, you better hope the Miami Hurricane players are not reading the preseason magazines because they might take this game for granted. It was interesting. I like to go back about halfway through the season. By the way, last week was exactly the midpoint. You know, we had about 13, 14 weeks overall for these teams. We're at week 8 now, so we're halfway through the season. I always like to look back at the annuals from like this summer. And one of the better handicapping ones, not just sports, but from a betting aspect, and I won't name it because it's actually a really good annual. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but they had every team ranked from 1 to 131 in Division One. And I was just glancing at it real quick, and Duke, I think, was like 121 or 122 in the preseason annual. And I was like, wow. Because I'm thinking to myself, they're having a decent season, and you're right. I mean, it's more than was expected. They're 4-3 straight up. Better record than Miami. What kind of odds could you have gotten on that when these teams played, they'd have a better straight-up record? With that said, though, Duke is still a 9-point dog, and my power ratings, actually, my math model favors Miami by 10.8, so almost 11 points. So I do think this line is a little short based on the 5 and 2 point spread record. And meanwhile, Miami is just 1-5 against the number this year. We talk about this a lot in the NFL. Fade the public works extremely well. But now that we're more than halfway through, you do start to find some adjustments by the odds makers to try to get balanced action. And for that reason, I think this point spread is a couple points short, as Miami's been one of the biggest money burners in the nation this year. In fact, they have not covered a Division 1A FBS game, Mark. Their only cover was against Bethune-Cookman back on September 3rd when they won 70-13. They were a 49-point favorite, and a lot of people don't even get lines of their sports books on those games. So a lot of people, you could say Miami's 0-5 against the number in real games this year. I think they get their first cover of the season this week, though, as the line is a little bit short.
Duke drew me in with about 5 minutes left to play. I was watching other games and saw Duke's about to beat North Carolina. I checked it out. They had a 3-point lead. They were inside the 10 to ice the game. Couldn't get it in the end zone. Missed the chip shot field goal, and then Drake May and North Carolina right down the field to win the game. But Duke did cover in that one as a touchdown underdog against North Carolina. Folks, the value here is pretty incredible. So you catch Steve at wagertalk.com. Get on over there for, again, the NFL, college football, Major League Baseball, the NBA. Not only Steve's selections, but his money management plan as well. Steve is kind enough to cut a segment with us on all the team channels right here at the Voice of College Football. So get to all the team channels. And then on top of that, on Patreon, you get Steve's under the radar selection of the week. He's 6-1 against the spread. Who does that? 6-1 against the spread in his under the radar selections. Go to patreon.com, search Mark Rogers TV. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thanks, Mark.